There we go. Hi, Sandy. Lovely to see
Hi,
you this
Joe.
morning. And the
Thank you
sun's
so much.
shining. I know you're in Crete. I'm
Yeah,
in Devon, but it looks like we've both got sunshine today, so that's fabulous. So, without further ado, I want you to introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and how you can help the ladies in my group.
yeah. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Joe, for having me today. So, I'm Sandy, and I'm a parenting coach. I help parents and teenagers reconnect from whatever conflicts they have. I'm also a teacher, so I've got about 30 years, nearly 30 years experience in education, working with young people, teenagers, and parents. I'm passionate about teenagers, and I'm currently in Crete. So it's traveling the world and meeting new people, getting the experience. I work with a lot of different nationalities. I actually work with 32 different nationalities. Yeah, and it's really nice because I get to know different culture and different approaches as well, because every families have their own background, their own way of dealing with things, and one nationality is completely different than another one. So,
Hmm.
if I take, for example, the British people compared to the Greek people, it's two different things. So, yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's really interesting that. I've never thought of that, but yeah, I guess different cultures will approach things in different ways, won't they?
Yeah, they do.
Where are you from, Sandy? Tell everyone where you're from.
So I'm originally from France. So I'm French. And then I left France when I was 21 to move to UK. And then in the UK, I stayed there for about 13 years. And I moved to Belgium to work with NATO. So that's why I work with so many different nationalities. When Nikita was 10 years old. And now this year, I'm preparing to move to Crete in Greece. So the beautiful Cretan island in Greece. So I'm traveling quite a bit.
That's amazing. I'm not jealous at all.
You don't have to be.
So how did you come to be working closely with parents and teens? What's your backstory, if you don't mind sharing it with us?
Oh no, not at all. And I think a lot of people, when they hear it, it's actually pretty inspiring. So basically, what happened is when Nikita was 10 years old, I decided to move to from UK to Belgium. But when we arrived in Belgium, Nikita was the perfect young teenager. No problem at all. She never sometimes she went out, but not that much. Our relationship was absolutely fantastic. Oh, that's what I thought anyway. Then when she got to 16 years old, she met one of her first love. And from that moment on time, it just went downhill because Nikita, between 10 years old to 16 years old, she was actually silently dealing with her own issue, which was the fact that I'd moved her from UK to Belgium. But she never shared that. So she started building resentment inside. And then when she got to 16 years old with that boy, he kind of took over. And then we started arguing on a regular basis, but then she started running away. So when she started running away from him, that's when the struggle started. She started getting very violent to the point of putting a knife up to my throat. I tried to have her arrested, believe it or not, after 2 years, because after 18 months of physical abuse, I started getting really scared of her. And I had to take her down to the police station to see if they could help me. But when I asked the police officer to arrest her, they refused. Actually refused. She had just beat me right in front of the officer. I had a winter jacket and a marked teeth completely went through my skin. But the officer could see something in her that I couldn't see at the time, because we just kept arguing every day. It was just every day. We were physically fighting each other. I was trying not to eat back, obviously, because I knew the danger that either her or me, we would have probably end up in the hospital. So very often I allowed to physically basically attack me. But I started getting very concerned because she started also taking a substance, which is, I think we call it marijuana. Yeah, that marijuana we call it. And that sent her into different states where she was physically sick. I had to take her down to the to the emergency room 3 times. One time I actually thought she was going to die. She she stayed with that boy for 3 years. So she started smoking marijuana with him, and he started influencing her really, really badly, to the point of her stopping school as well. So she missed over nearly 2 months in total of school. She was supposed to be expelled from school. But the school at that time was pretty good. Then we had 3 psychologists working with us, and the psychologist basically told me I was an unstable mom
Oh,
because I had moved from France to England and then England to Belgium. But the
that's
thing
not
was that,
unstable. People do that all the time.
well, I'm aware of that, but for them, the fact that I was moving so much was like, well, you are never here for your daughter anyway, because I was a single mom. Now, my argument with them was like, well, how moving from France to England, is impacting my daughter because she was not born at that time. So then I started arguing with them. And then when Nikita got to 18 years old, she could choose whether to have the psychologist or not. I just wanted that relationship with the psychologist to end, but Nikita she chose to carry on with them. But then she left when she left that relationship with that boy after 3 years. So she was just about 19 years old. Then we started connecting again, but on a
Mm.
very small basis. But she jumped from that relationship to another relationship. And then the second relationship was even worse because he was a young guy, older than her, but just came out of jail.
Oh,
So that lasted another 3 years, physical abuse. So he was beating her up. And then at one stage, I literally packed a case and I told her, I said, either you go or I go, because we just cannot live together like this. But at the end of the day, it was my house. So I said to her, if this is the life you want to live, then you're going to have to go. And then she started seeing me as an absolute horrible mom. She said, you don't want me, you don't love me. I says, it's not about loving you or not wanting you. It's simply me not allowing you to treat me this way anymore. So as parents, we often say, I've done so much for you. I do this for you. I do that for you. Why do you treat me like this? But what I came to realize after a few years, because then I found, a coach, which is Jojo. I don't know if the ladies in the group knows her, but Jojo was.
but I don't
Oh,
think they know her. I should do an interview with Jojo, shouldn't I?
yeah, she's amazing. So when I met Jojo, I started working on mindset with her. I didn't know at that time what was happening. And then from mindset, I moved on to NLP. And I think it's the NLP that helped me a lot, because then what I realized is that the way that I was speaking, communicating with my daughter was not good at all, because we were constantly arguing. We were in conflicts every day, to the point of, at one stage, Joe, Nikita, we were living in the same house, but Nikita for 3 months did not speak to me, not one word. She would walk past me, bang me into my shoulder, completely ignore me. And that was for 3 months. It was hard. It was very, very, very hard. And then when she took also, I had to send her to UK. I mean, at that time she was 22 years old. She was going on 23, and she had paid for her to take a driving test. And at that time, I didn't have a lot of money. So I had to sell a lot of my house items in order to pay, because in Belgium, it's very expensive. We're talking 120 euros, which is about 110, £100, £110 per session. And she was having a session every day. And
Wow.
she, I know, and she failed her driving license 3 times.
Oh,
So because she failed it, she had to retake, but she had to retake like 20 sessions at a time. So I didn't have any more money. It was crazy. And to finish up, I ended up selling the big TV that I had in order to pay for a last test. And she passed. So I was really happy for her. But when she got a driving license, we had to wait 1 week to have a card, a driving license. When she passed the driving license, she took the car, but she smoked marijuana. So basically, knowing that the law in Belgium says that, when you smoke marijuana, then the marijuana stays in your blood for up to 10 days. So you're not allowed to drive. So I went absolutely crazy at her. Now, I've been a single parent since she was 2.5 years old. And I basically brought her up by myself. So she didn't have the relationship she had with her dad wasn't that close. And her dad was also physically violent to me. So she witnessed all of that. That was one of the reasons why I left her dad. And she always saw me as the, how do you say, as the horrible, but I mean the really, really horrible parent. A dad in her mind, because she had a very small relationship with her dad, a dad in her mind was the angel, and me, I was the witch. So when she took that car on that day, I basically told her, I said, listen, I says, I have tried everything in my power to be the best mom I possibly could. I strongly believe I've done my best, but right now I just cannot cope with you anymore. I said, so I've booked you a one-way ticket. To where? To UK. You're going to live with your dad. But she was 23, so she was an adult. And she got extremely angry with me. She got very, very, very angry, to the point of completely resenting me and hating me. And I remember, I'll never forget that time. We went to the airport, and she said to me, she said, I hate you. You don't love me. And I said to her, I said, it's completely the opposite. The reason I'm doing this is because I love you. I said, but I just can't cope with you anymore. I said, you are an adult, and I've done everything in my power to give you whatever possibly a parent can give you. I says, but now I'm completely at a loss. I said, so you're going. And I took her. So when we arrived at the airport, she went out of the car. We never said goodbye to each other. And then she arrived in the UK. Her dad took her on, but her dad obviously didn't know her. Her dad didn't know the violence. I mentioned it to him on numerous occasions, but he always believed that I was lying. I was making it up. So when she arrived there, the first month was nice and beautiful, but then Nikita started showing her true color on the second month. And in the second month, as a father, the violence that he had towards me for the time that we were together was still there. And he got violent with her to the point of grabbing her by the neck, putting her against the wall. So then she rang me up and she said, Mom, I'm ready to come home. And that was on month number 2. And she explained to me what happened. And I said to her, I said, listen, I love you. I said, but I'm not ready to have you back. So you're going to have to deal with that by yourself. And when your dad does this, just consider a little bit how you've been over these last few years and look at how you behave towards him and ask yourself what you need to change. And I left her. Then on month number 3, she rang me up again and she said, Mom, she said, this time I'm really ready to come home and I'm really sorry. And I said, well, this time I'm ready for you to come back, because I could feel in her voice that something was different. So she came back, but on my terms this time. So we agreed that when she would come back, we would work on our relationship. And what we found in our relationship was that we didn't have any communication at all. None of us were listening to each other. We were communicating through words that didn't mean anything. So we had to learn to communicate with each other. And I think that today, in many relationships between parents and teenagers, this is one of the biggest issue that the relationship itself is actually facing, is that we communicate with our teenager and our teenager communicate with us in certain ways, and really there are different ways to do it. And when I say different ways, I mean it's like reframing the words that we say, reframing the way that we speak to them, and also being completely present when they talk to us. And for me as a parent, that was the hardest thing to do, to sit there and to listen to what my teenager was saying to me. That was hard, very, very hard,
I can relate to that.
because we want to jump in. We want, when they're suffering, what we want to do as parents, because we love them so much, is that we just want to help them fix the problem. But really, we're not here to fix the problem. We're here to guide them, for them to actually learn how to handle that situation, learn different ways of dealing with different stuff in their life. And what I realized today, and I see that as well with all of the teenagers that I work with, is that we're lacking different ways of communicating with our children. And when I talk about teenager, I'm also talking about any ages, whether they're 5 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, because Nikita today is 30 years old. And we've learned to communicate together. And the way that we speak with each other today is completely different. We listen to each other. So when we want to talk, like, okay, how about we sit down and have a chat about this? And she go, okay. So we sit down and, would you like to start or shall I start? And then we'll just smile a little bit about it. But when we say this, we know that we have to hear each other. It's about listening, hearing what they're saying, and then offering our help then. Like, instead of saying, well, you should do this, or you do this or do that. Now the way that we speak with each other, we say, well, how about maybe we could change this and do this instead. So she will either agree or disagree. Well, I don't really agree with you, Mom. Okay, so would you like to explain to me the reason for it, so that I can understand better? So it's completely different. All this reframing, all those little words, the how, the what, basically, when we reframe what we say with our children, the how and the what, it gives them an opportunity to reflect on their answer. But when we ask them, when we tell them, or when we say, well, do you want to do this, which requires a yes or a no, then there is no opportunity for connection there. So it's all about, for me and Nikita, and what saved our relationship. And we just before I connected with you. Actually, I was telling Nikita, and I was saying to her, I said, what's been your biggest, the biggest thing in our relationship that for you saved our relationship? The first word that came out of her mouth was communication. And then I said, anything else? And she went, yeah, active listening. So it's all about communication and active listening. And when you are able to work on both of them, then that is when you are able to rebuild that connection, or build that connection that you've never had before. It's not because children are 20, 30 years old that, in the event that you've not had a connection with them before, that you can't have one now. It's all about learning. It's being a parent is a process, and you are a parent for life. And as a parent, we just have to learn to adjust to today's society, because everything is changing today. As parents, there are a lot of things that we can no longer do because the
Social
government.
media. It's a massive.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
even in school as a teacher, it's exactly the same. So it's about adjusting and learning new ways of dealing with things. And for teenagers today, it's even worse for them, because they're going through so much, especially social media. Their peers at school who are either judging them or criticizing them. And I see this with the teenagers that I work with. They struggle at school because they feel judged, and then they close themselves into a shell, and they become like They are in their own little world, and everything else outside is just black. And for them, it's very hard to come out of that. So it's about helping them build confidence as well, resilience and confidence, because when they've got that confidence and that resilience in them, then they are able to face the challenges. But also, as parents, we need to model what we want our children to do with us, or to behave with us. So if we can model that to our children will do exactly the same as they grow up. And I see this with Nikita today. Now when I speak with Nikita today, I can see in her the work that we've done together, and I'm so proud of her. And my experience with Nikita, I'm absolutely grateful for it, and I thank her for it, because she taught me how to be an active listener. She taught me how to communicate with her. And without our experience, we won't be where we are today. And today, I just love our relationship today. It's, we communicate, we do so many things together that we've never done before. And
So
all these
nice.
because of the way that we've worked on. And it's all about progress over perfection as well. And what parents needs to know as well is that they are not failing. They
Yeah.
are,
And I think in my group where the ladies are dealing with their own hormones, and then they have like preteens and teens that are dealing with their hormones, that's when they have this hormone clash as well, which makes everything going through stuff that you've just talked about, but add the whole hormone fluctuation on both sides to the story, just makes everything, I think, so much harder and feel so much bigger as well. So I
yeah,
think
it
you have
does.
been valuable in my group for that.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. And, please, the parents in the groups who are struggling with their teenager, reach out to me, and please reach out to me, inbox me. If you don't want to put it in the group, it's okay. Just inbox me, because there are ways to help you and your teenagers connect. And sometimes we just need somebody to teach us how to do that. Now, I didn't have anybody to do that for me, but it's because of Jojo, through the NLP approach, that I've learned how to reframe stuff. And I was able to pass that on to Nikita. So we are here to help. You don't have to suffer on your own. You don't have to suffer silently. We are all going through that, but so many of us will not say it because we are too frightened of being judged as a parent, that we are not a good parent. But we are good parents. We just need to learn how to adjust to everyday's challenges that we're facing.
And can I, when I post this into my group, I'm going to upload this to YouTube, but when I post it into the group, if you share a link with me, I can put a link in the post above it, so that if people want to find you or contact you, or a way of, or finding you, knowing where you are, I can
Yeah,
share that in the post as well for you, for
yeah,
them.
absolutely, absolutely, Joe.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for
Oh, thank
sharing your
you.
story with us. It's pulled on my heartstrings there, and I'm so happy that you two are in a good place now, and that you really enjoy each other and love each
We
other,
are.
obviously, so much.
Our story for us is just an experience. It's taught us so much, absolutely, so much. So I'm grateful for what happened to us. I'm really grateful, because today the connection that we have, we wouldn't have had this connection without that experience.
That
So
happening.
yeah,
That's a lovely
the
way
pain.
of looking at it as
Yeah,
well. That's the reframing, isn't it? As well,
yeah, yeah,
being grateful for that. Oh,
yeah.
thank you, Sandy. Thank you
No,
so
thank
much.
you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the sunshine
Thank
in
you.
Crete. And we'll chat soon.
And you in Devon as well. Enjoy it.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Joe. Thank you. Bye.